Hi everybody, thank you very much for joining me. A pair of our astronauts remain trapped in space. 53 days, I believe, they've been trapped up there on the International Space Station. All the things that have happened to them would definitely make a great space movie. Thruster failures and helium leaks on the Boeing's new Starliner capsule has prompted NASA and Boeing to keep them in orbit for longer over fears that the trip back to from the spacecraft could end in disaster. But hope might be coming. NASA just awarded SpaceX $266,678 to come up with a study for emergency response, to send up what they call a lifeboat. It's just basically a study doing the paperwork, an emergency response. Total speculative here, but it sounds like NASA is trying to figure out if a quick launch of the Crew Dragon is possible in response to certain emergencies. In the beginning, when the astronauts were to launch there, aboard the Boeing Starliner, anything with the name Boeing I would be afraid to get onto. The liftoff came roughly a month after Starliner was originally supposed to fly to the station. The launch was already delayed by years. It was definitely behind schedule because of different problems. Their luggage, their change of clothes, was left behind. The left behind luggage wasn't Boeing's fault. The space station urine recovery system broke earlier in the week, and NASA had to make room to send up a new pump. Normally, the astronauts change their clothes about every 2 days. Can you imagine wearing the same clothes for over 53 days? Maybe they can use that clothing as a test up there in the space station for bacteria and the effects of wearing the same clothes for so long. The water recovery system that they sent up collects wastewater and sends it to the water processor assembly, which produces drinkable water. Just imagine having reprocessed urine for your coffee. I believe also this pump collects the humidity from inside the space station, your humidity from the breath and your sweat. So I imagine it was probably getting a little muggy up there when their last pump recycling machine stopped working for whatever reason. I could be wrong, but this new pump is supposed to reprocess about 98% of all that water into drinkable water. The old recycling system that they were using only recovered about 87% of the water. Systems and research like this are important for long-term missions like Mars. It would require all food and liquids on board for that mission to be recycled. Cost of sending water into space is extremely high. SpaceX charges about $2,500 per pound of cargo. Additionally, there is a $1.1 million surcharge for every 440 pounds. So leaving their luggage behind was only part of the problems that they would face later. Cecilia Williams and Barry Butch Whitmer probably would have some fantastic books to write after they make it back, hopefully safely. Shortly after the capsule blasted off from Florida atop a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, and that was on June 5th, NASA said that within a few hours the capsule had sprung 2 leaks. After the capsule docked at the station on June 6th, another leak was found, and days later, on June 10th, another was spotted. In addition to the helium leaks, 5 thrusters temporarily malfunctioned during the flight. 4 came back online, with a 5th being shut down. They all shut down because, they were indicating some kind of malfunction. They did manage to get 4 of the thrusters working, but they weren't working as well as they should have been, but luckily they got it to dock with the ISS. Originally, Starliner was set to launch on May 6th, but teams detected a valve leaking helium and scrubbed the mission. Engineers suspected that the issue came from a defective rubber seal the size of a shirt button, and said that even if the leak worsened, it could be managed in flight. And then they decided to shoot it off to space. And then sometime last week, I'm not sure what day it was, but we're just now being told about it, a defunct Russian satellite broke up into more than 180 pieces of debris in orbit, forcing the astronauts on the International Space Station to take shelter for about an hour. I bet you they were just holding their breath during that whole time. I believe this happened on Wednesday last week. It was a decommissioned Russian satellite. NASA informed the crew that the breakup had occurred at an altitude similar to that of the space station. Crews then remained sheltered for about an hour. The Russian Earth Observatory satellite was decommissioned in 2022. I wonder what made it break up. I don't know if Russia reported that the satellite had broken up, but it was reported by Leo Labs. That is an American-based company which keeps track of more than 20,000 objects in space, space debris. The Russian satellite was originally launched in 2013 and weighed 13,000 pounds and was orbiting somewhere about 220 miles in space. Boeing has been besieged with all kinds of problems, and we all know about their airlines. In 2014, NASA awarded Boeing $4.2 billion contract to build the Starliner as a vehicle to carry astronauts on routine missions to the International Space Station, and hopefully they'll use SpaceX to rescue them. The Starliner program has since fallen far behind schedule and gone over budget. Boeing has estimated the program to cost the company over $1 billion in losses. At the same time, NASA awarded Boeing the contract in 2014. It gave SpaceX $2.6 billion to develop its Dragon capsule. It conducted its first crewed flight tests with a crew in 2020 and now regularly carries astronauts to the station. Boeing is still trying to get that done. Well, they got them up there, they just can't bring them back, and they got up there by the skin of their teeth. The Starliner in 2019 failed to reach the ISS. The cause was an incorrectly set onboard clock that caused the computer to fire the capsule's engines too early. The Starliner did reach ISS in 2022, but it also had failed some of its thrusters. It sounds like the thrusters are just an ongoing problem, don't it? Oh, and things keep getting worse and worse. Boeing delayed Starliner's first crew flight last year after the company officials realized that the adhesive tape used on hundreds of yards of wiring was potentially flammable, and the capsule's 3 parachutes were connected with lines that appeared to be weaker than expected. So, you got your capsule coming down, chutes deployed, and the lines break. Oh my God. And I already told you about the May 6th launch that was canceled because of the small helium leak in one of the thrusters. They think the leak was probably due to a faulty seal, though the engineers aren't totally sure. Evidently, the thrusters sit right on the backside of the capsule. And if the capsule does come back to Earth, the portion where the thrusters is at would burn up in space. And so they really don't have a way to check it out. So they're currently doing testing in the desert because the thrusters, they can't see what the problem is. So they barely made it docking to the space station, the International Space Station. The thrusters were not working properly. At least they got 4 of them to work. But Yeah, they weren't working quite up to par, whatever that means. There was a video online of the two astronauts when they opened the door and boarded the ISS, how overjoyed they were and thrilled to be there. No kidding. Did they kiss the walls or the floor of the space station when they got there? Yeah, when they told me that I would have to leave my change of clothes behind, I would really be questioning leaving on their Boeing spacecraft. So I hope NASA swallows their pride and hires SpaceX to send up a rescue ship, a lifeboat as they call it, and brings them back alive. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless you all. Bye.